Hey everybody, it's Julian or FlowGraphics here, and welcome to another episode of FlowTalks. So today I'm going to talk a bit about what's on the screen, as well as a topic that I think is really important a really important topic for me to touch on, because I wish I knew a lot of these things when I first started graphic design, and these are just some really key things I wish I knew when I first started. And then maybe there's a few of you watching that are just starting to get into art and graphic design and digital art, and anything on that sort of artsy sort of realm, and then maybe I can help you a little bit, where there's a few things that I just wish I was told. I wish I was told these things when I first started, because they make a huge deal of help. So yeah, the Speedart you can see is basically, I was just bored one night. In case you don't follow my Twitter or anything, basically my computer, actually my CPU cooler and all that, and the fans and all that, just completely carked it and stopped working recently. So actually that's why my uploads have been a bit delayed lately, so sorry about that. But yeah, so I basically didn't have a computer for over a week, and I was planning to upload basically the very first day my computer stopped working. I planned to upload a video, and then that had to get pushed back by basically like a week and a half, which is why there was such a big delay. So sorry about that, but yeah, so I was really eager to make some art when I got my computer back, because I just hadn't been able to do anything for so long. So I started on this little piece, which you can see me creating now. I'm still not fully sure of how it's going to turn out. It's not finished yet. This is a speed art of me making sort of as much as I got up to so far. I'd say it's probably a third of the way done, maybe a bit less than that, I'm not sure. But I'm really liking how it's looking so far. I'm most likely going to change the colors and a lot of that pretty drastic. I'll change all that a lot as I go on, but what you can see me make in this speed up, it's just sort of like a rough outline of me sort of trying to get the gist of what I'm creating and get a good outline for it all. So yeah, enjoy watching that in the background. But yeah, first thing, I'm just gonna get straight into it and talk about what I wish I knew when I started graphic design. So the number one thing is what programs to use, because you see this a lot where people on YouTube and people on the internet and stuff tell other people what programs they should be using when they have no idea about their situation or anything like that. So, you know, you may see a video and someone says, hey, you know, use Cinema 4D for everything 3D. It's a great program, easy to use. And yet Cinema 4D is a great program. I use it as well professionally. But saying that, Cinema 4D is not the best program for a lot of things to do with 3D. For example, 3D modeling. I would say Cinema 4D is not the best 3D modeling program by far. I would say in my experience, and pretty much as far as industry standards go, 3ds Max and Maya are pretty much like the pinnacles as far as like actual 3D modeling, where we're talking about sort of extrapolating from like and this can be sort of anything. But if you're doing actual modeling onto sculpts, as far as sculpting goes, it's a different thing. But if you're doing proper like wireframe modeling and game design modeling and animation modeling from scratch, that all needs to be, you know, that needs to have all perfect polygons, and the mesh needs to be nice and clean and all made out of you know, proper faces and all that, and not have any n-gons or any other stuff. And if what I just said just completely sounds like mumbo jumbo, that's fine. They're just sort of modeling things. But yeah, so in personal experience, and pretty much every single person I know that works as that works in a professional sense as like a 3D modeler does not use Cinema 4D. That is not their first preference. They use things like 3ds Max, Maya, sometimes Blender. That's sort of, yeah. But yeah, just as like a general sense. And this is where it's really important to know what programs are best to use in certain situations. Especially with the whole Photoshop Illustrator dilemma. People seem to really sort of pair those two against each other, like it's Photoshop versus Illustrator, even though they're two completely different programs that don't at all compete with each other. They actually complement each other. And there's, you know, if you're going to create a logo, you make that logo on Illustrator. You don't make that logo on Photoshop. If let's say you're a starting out graphic designer, maybe Illustrator's looking a bit daunting, you don't quite know how to use it yet, you only know how to use Photoshop. Don't just make things in Photoshop because it's easy. Trust me, that's what I did when I very first started out with graphic design. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna make logos in Photoshop, and make, you know, PNG logos, because, you know, it doesn't matter, whatever, people don't care, people don't always need vectors for things. It actually took me about like a year or two to actually learn Illustrator from when I very first started sort of picking up graphic design. And I wish I learned it quicker, because the second I learned it, I just said, wow, this program's amazing, and there's so much more I could do, and it just expanded my skill set so much more. I really think if you're sort of just getting used to the programs and you're just sort of learning graphic design and digital art and things, really have a deep look into what programs you think are suitable for you and what programs you should be using. To give you a really, really rough outline, this is nothing set in stone, but this is for me personally and what I've found other people to use. Everything to do with photo manipulation, sort of like, let's just say photo manipulation, photo editing, and then like a lot of graphic design work in general. Photoshop obviously is great, and then you can use Illustrator for a lot of web design, UI work, as well as Photoshop, but they sort of go hand in hand. And then obviously pretty much all logo and branding work you can do in Illustrator, as well as a lot of print work you can use it. You can do in Illustrator too. Illustrator is great for that. 3D work, motion design. I do like predominantly like motion design and rendering is really good in Cinema 4D. If you're doing like architectural renders, if you're doing infographics, motion design, anything like that, Cinema 4D is awesome for that sort of stuff. If you're doing heavy 3D modeling, texture mapping, anything to do with game design or animation, I'd suggest programs like Maya and 3ds Max, potentially Blender as well. And then if you're doing like photo editing, Lightroom's awesome photo editing for like raw images. And then video editing, After Effects is basically intensive video editing. If you're doing compositing and masking and all those real cool sort of nitty gritty things, doing all those awesome effects, After Effects is perfect for you. Don't try and be backwards and learn all that stuff in Sony Vegas and use all these other programs. It's way easier if you just learn After Effects from the get-go. So just learn After Effects. And then if you just wanted some sort of standard video editing, which you can still do a lot of those really cool effects anyway, Premiere. So that's a sort of general idea. There's a million more programs, a million more fields and things to learn, but those are the base sort of programs I use on a day-to-day basis. Another thing is the right tools, because and efficiency as well. Efficiency is key. That's something I really wish I'd learned early on, and that's something I somewhat pride myself on now, is because a lot of people often when they see me work in a professional sense, they go, holy crap, you did that so fast. Because I know, and it's not because I'm rushing it, it's because I've spent years and years and years learning all the shortcuts, all the ways of the most efficient, quickest way to do something which maintains the highest possible result. Because it's all about time. You know, your time is money, and if you can get something done quicker and more efficient and give the exact same result, you want to do it that way because you're saving yourself money. And it's just a way better way to work. So always try and find out the best way to do things, and every single time you try and make something in Photoshop, Illustrator, do it quickly, do it efficiently and quickly. Don't rush it. Whatever you do, don't rush it. Take your time, but try and be efficient. That's the key word, efficient. Is if you can, you know, if there's 10 different ways to make a circle, and they all make the exact same result, find out the way which is the absolute quickest way to give that exact same result, and learn how to do that, and keep doing it until it's just really just honed in and you got it down. So yeah, efficiency is very important. One thing I'm going to quickly slot into this video, I've actually got a sponsor for this, FlowTalks.space. So if you're wanting to create your own portfolio, if you have your own website, and you're looking for domain names and things like that, if you're not sure how this all works, you know, youtube.com, you can get .net, .com.au, .org, and so on. And basically the people sponsoring today's episode of FlowTalks are .space, and .space is just a really cool, clean, creative way to sort of brand yourself online. A lot of artists and graphic designers tend to use .space, which is why it's perfect for all of you guys. So yeah, I've left a link in the description of this video. So they're actually giving everyone watching right now a discount on a domain. You can buy a .space domain for only $3, which is absolutely insane for a domain name, trust me. Usually it's upwards of $10, but they're giving you an awesome discount. So yeah, just go to the link in the description and use the coupon code FlowGraphics when you check out for your domain name. And yeah, you'll save $7 plus, and you're getting like a really cool unique domain for only $3. It's sort of a no-brainer. I wouldn't be promoting it if I didn't think it was awesome. So yeah, go check them out. So yeah, thanks for .space for sponsoring this episode of FlowTalks. So continuing on with everything else, Another thing I wish I really learnt when I started is a really big gap between self-taught artists and self-taught designers and things and people that went to school. Because it seems a lot of people that go to sort of traditional school, go to college or university, learn a whole lot of theory and the process and how to analyze things. And then self-taught artists basically just know all the practical work and that's all they do. They usually get this huge gap of knowledge. And the only thing I can say is don't at all underestimate the art behind it and the theory behind it. So for example, the artwork you can see me creating on the screen now, if I didn't know anything about color theory and how colors work together and how shapes and forms work, it would look nothing like it would look like right now. I could have the exact same skill set, I could know every single tool that I know in Photoshop and how to actually technically make everything on my screen. I could have the exact same skill set. But if I never learnt color theory, like through college, and I never sort of researched these things and spent years sort of teaching myself, like I went to university, I went to college, I studied color theory many times, I studied shapes and forms and traditional art, and all of that taught me how colors interact, how, you know, hues and contrast and forms and shape and how that all works and what looks good and what, you know, stylistically looks good and works together. And that's something that a lot of self-taught artists seem to really miss out on, and not also, like, this isn't something that they consciously do, it's just a gap in knowledge, because you see a tutorial on YouTube and they teach you how to technically make something. They say, hey, you know, press Command H, press Command T, resize this up to 40 pixels, move it to the left. They're telling you technically what to do, but you don't actually understand the theory behind it. You don't understand why they made it that color blue, why they made it this, why they made it that, which is why when I make my tutorials, I really try to explain as much as possible, and the method, it's like my madness. So if I'm making something, I'm like, hey, I'm making this blue because it contrasts well with the orange and they complement each other. So that's something, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, for people that have seen my tutorials before, but I really try to include little sort of tips like that, because in my eyes, a tutorial is just absolutely pointless if you don't actually share that type of knowledge and the reasoning behind why you're doing things. And this works hand in hand as well, because there's some people that know all the theory and know how to analyze art and all of that, but they lack on the technical skills as well. So the one thing I think is very, very important when you're starting out is to really immerse yourself in all areas of art, work out the technicalities, work out how to use the programs, but as well as work out, you know, work out the theory behind it, how you react, the emotional impact to art, how people react to certain colors, what colors work well, color theory, all of that. Really research all that and try and figure out how it works, because it will make such a big difference to your artwork. Because that's something I really notice, especially on YouTube, is a lot of people that share me, like a lot of my viewers, especially you guys watching right now, when you guys share me your artwork and you post things on Twitter and Skype me or whatever and show me your things, that can be taken out of context. When you show me your art, it's awesome, and I can see all of the technical skill that's gone into it, and many of you are just as good as Photoshop as I am, if not better. But the thing I see a lot of people lack is just really, really basic knowledge on especially color theory, but as well as just knowledge on just theory of art in general, and how things work, and how, you know, how humans actually react to certain forms and shapes and composition and all sorts of things. And just with a little bit of time spent sort of fine-tuning those skills, a lot of your artworks could just be boosted into just another world, because they'll just have that little touch where they'll just look absolutely amazing. So that's something that I can't really stress enough. And I think it's very, very important. So thanks for watching this episode of FlowTalks. I'm pretty sure I always get you to say something, but honestly, I'm just gonna say look into that dot space domain, because it's $3 and it's so cheap. I'm sorry I've said it again, but all I'm saying is instead of getting you to say pineapple or some weird word for this episode, all I'm gonna say is, even if you're not interested at all, just take a look. Maybe you'll like it, and you can get a really cool domain name for like literally dirt cheap. You can buy a chocolate bar for the same amount of money. So just think about it. That's all I could say. As always, thank you so much for watching. this episode of FlowTalks, everybody. I hope you all have an awesome day. I hope you enjoyed the Speedart. Be sure to keep an eye on the channel because I'll be continuing this artwork and I'll have the second half of this Speedart on another FlowTalk sometime soon as well. I've got lots of videos in the works and I've got lots of things coming out soon, so hopefully enjoy all of that. So have an awesome day, everybody. It's been Julian or FlowGraphics here. See ya.